Thank you, and thanks for doing the intro of Grahame Heal as well. I was going to mention how it was a great honour to actually receive this award in his name. Being a pioneer in water-sensitive urban design, it's a privilege to be able to talk about a project that we have worked on, where we fully embrace that today. Oh, don't want to go backwards, sorry. So, the project I'm talking about is Rosehill Waters. We've completed stage 1, so the award was given to stage 1 of this project, but water-sensitive urban design is embraced throughout the whole of the development. So why did we win? So just as a quick overview, it's a 49 hectare subdivision in South Guildford, former golf course. It's a highly constrained site. I think sometimes people look at what we've done and think, oh, that was obvious or easy, but actually it's a really highly constrained site, and it was a lot of challenges to overcome to get it as it is today. We managed to turn those constraints into opportunities through careful planning, a lot of design meetings, a lot of hard work, and so I think we've achieved a really good outcome considering all the constraints that we faced, and we fully embraced environmental excellence, and the EnviroDevelopment symbol is up on there. That's the Urban Development Institute of Australia, their framework for measuring or acknowledging environmental excellence, and so we've used that framework, and from that time what's really nice is that our hard efforts have been rewarded through being recognised through a number of awards, not only through UDIA but also through the Stormwater WA Association and now AWA. So starting back at where are we? So we're located in South Guildford, just where the little insert is up there. That's an old map, obviously, so the golf course. There's residential development on the east and south, and the Palmer Department of Defence barracks on the west, and the Helena River recreation area and Foreshore Reserve to the north. So this is a nice graphic of the ultimate design of the development, looking through. So stage 1 is just this section here. You can see we've got the water course coming through, going up to the Helena River, village centre here, and the residential development through there. So what were our key constraints? So there was significant community opposition. The community thought, because it was a golf course, that it was public open space. So even though it was privately owned land, and the owner could have any time done, well, within limits, done what they wanted to it, people thought it was open space. So to turn it into a development, they thought that there was a loss of that open space. So Sandra Claridge, who's the general manager of Rosehill Waters, did an incredible job at working on that community opposition. She had individual cups of tea in individual people's front rooms, talked to each of them, had community events, community affairs, and that's still going on now. Because there was so much community opposition, it received quite a lot of political attention, so obviously, ministers and everything got involved. And when it gets to that level, there was Facebook campaigns, people started to make up things about different animals that were there that weren't there. So it started to get quite nasty. So there was a community consultation consultant, Karen Gregory, came on board and came up with a really, really good program to engage the community, find out their concerns, and we worked quite early on to change the development and work with them to try and satisfy what their needs were. And also Perth Airport, which is just south of the development, halfway through planning changed their noise contours, and they had a very strong objection to developing this site because of noise requirements. And one of the Sandra knows more about this side of things than me, but one of the big things that came out of it was that we had to design all the buildings to attenuate noise. So they're really cleverly designed through having insulation on the walls, the ceilings, special glass, everything to attenuate noise in the buildings. And every single house is noise tested at the end as well to make sure that it meets the certain criteria. But because of that, I guess, constraint, that also turned into an opportunity because noise attenuation features also have energy savings. And so we started turning sort of all that, all the work that was being done onto noise to also have an environmental impact. So that was really the start of the EnviroDevelopment framework and approach. The site is also quite tricky hydrologically. It's very flat. It used to be lots of wetlands in that area, like a long time ago, and they, at the time, dug these big drains through there to try and drain the wetlands to grow stuff. And so that now is being developed, and so we had upstream of our site, we had obviously catchments, so we had to make sure that we maintain that flow path throughout the catchment. And it was quite tricky with the grades being so flat. You know, if you're a hydrologist like me, it's quite hard to convey that flow, plus hold it back because you don't want to increase flows, but you can't flood upstream. So it's tricky stuff. So there was a lot of effort put into the hydrology side of things. So one of the reasons I attribute this site being so good, I'll say it's really good, is because we were engaged very early to look at the opportunities and constraints and do some early planning and come up with some goals really early on that have been carried throughout the design process. And so some of the things that we looked at were we wanted to retain the trees on site, so there's quite a lot of nice mature trees. We wanted to enhance the drains rather than culvert them, as is often done. We had some heritage buildings that Sandra wants to preserve and turn into a community area. And apologies for the dropped off R, but we also had a large groundwater licence because of the golf course, so there was an opportunity to use that for some reason, for some purpose. So one of the first things that you see when you go out there is that we've successfully turned the existing agricultural drains that were at the top, so they were just V drains, that trapezoidal shaped drains that just had the grass from the golf course all the way to the edge mown, no riparian area at all. And so what we managed to do is actually turn them into living streams by reprofiling them, creating actual benched water course with a low flow channel and a high flow channel, and planting them, putting in meanders and planting them with local species. So I think, well, from my point of view anyway, the result is a much more natural, down the bottom is a much more natural looking system. So I think it looks nicer. It's also going to be easier to maintain because you don't have to mow it and whippersnip it like they were doing before. And also you have a massive water quality benefit as well, because it's going to be improving, and the monitoring we've done already is showing that the nutrient levels from the upstream and the downstream are already decreasing just in the last 6 months. It's been, well, it's more like 9 months it's been installed now. The other key, what I'm calling key water success, is the rain gardens. So we're the first, as far as I know, and no one's told me anything differently, we're the first in WA, even Australia maybe, to put rain gardens throughout a whole new subdivision. So almost every street has a rain garden every 2 lots. So it's really frequent. It's not just water quality treatment areas at the end of a road, it's every second lot has a rain garden, and that's what they look like. So just low, flat, flush curb, and it means that every 2 lots, so about 60 metres and half the road, because the road slopes down from the middle. That all goes into the rain garden in the first instance, takes out nutrients, any sediment, any oils and hydrocarbons, and then if the rain continues to rain after that point, it overflows back onto the road and goes into the stormwater drainage system. So that's something the Department of Water's really been pushing. Local government did have a different view, mostly because of the maintenance issues that they've seen before. So for us it was quite a battle to actually get those in place and to get all parties to agree that we should have those. And to get approval for them, we had to come up with an information pack for residents. We had to mark them on their lot. That design down there is a rain garden stamp that we've created specifically for the development, that's stamped on the curb, just purely as a starting point to show people that they are a thing, and that they can't pave them or take the reeds out and that kind of thing. So there's quite a lot of things. All of those things were new. I actually asked everyone I knew here in WA, and it also spread over east, to see if we could get a rain garden symbol, and we couldn't find one. So that's why we made one ourselves, and we've provided it to the Department of Water and to the City of Swan as well, so they may use that in the future. And the third, I guess, big water thing we have is the community bore. So I mentioned before about the large groundwater licence that we have for irrigating the former golf course. So we had this opportunity this big groundwater licence, and we thought, well, why don't we come up with a community bore system to try and reduce the potable water use at the site? Because that's, with our size lots and this sort of geology, it's quite marginal whether people would put their own domestic bores in. So most people would be irrigating their lots with potable water. So we've come up with this community bore system that's a centralised system run by a third party, which we've got Total Eden on board. We had to go through all of the approvals to get, well, we got a water surface provider's exemption because of the situation. So we went through all those approvals, and now we've just been going through all the approvals for actually constructing the bore itself and the infrastructure around there. So the developer has paid for the second pipe system, so the purple pipe system, to be put throughout the entire development. You can see the lovely purple colour up there. So every lot has 2 metres. There's a metre for the community bore and a metre for potable water. So every single lot, the community bore metre is metered. So you know exactly how much water every lot is using. They have to adhere to the groundwater licence conditions, so it is controlled. They can only water at certain times during the week and not over winter. So in the same way that the groundwater licence was regulated before, we're doing the same now. And it's a compulsory sign up upon buying the land. So it is priced. So this is something different. So there's been a few schemes like that done before that haven't quite worked, and a lot of it was because the future hadn't really been factored into. So we've learnt from that, and we have priced it. There's no standing charge. It's just a per kilolitre price. And that's been based on the future maintenance of the system, so that it will last into the future, and it's a lot less than potable water. So it's a no-brainer really for people to sign up to it anyway upon buying the lot. And so one of the amazing things that Sandra and Noah's Rosehill Waters have done is, when I said fully or embraced environmental excellence, they've actually embraced it throughout their sales and marketing campaign too. So it wasn't just a token thing during planning to try and get approvals. They've actually, in all their sales, their marketing, there's graphs like that throughout the sales offices and in the brochures, showing people how much water and the other aspects like energy that they'll save, and then turning that into a monetary benefit for them too. So it's a different way of thinking really, and getting people on board who weren't necessarily going to buy in this estate because they liked the environmental side of it. They actually think, oh, I can save money here too. So and then it's encouraging them to then get involved from an environmental side as well. So in terms of some of the other environmental initiatives, so I've already mentioned the really strong community engagement program that had been run. There's 6 leaves on the EnviroDevelopment. There's also a materials leave. So everything, all the trees that were taken down at the site were turned into mulch and also turned into log products. So a lot of the benches and the seats throughout the park are actually recycled wood, recycled timber from the site. All of the mulch, which is piles and piles of mulch, has been used all over the POS. And also a lot of the construction materials, some of the road aggregate is recycled, and also not only recycled but low carbon emission as well. The whole site is a smart waste zone, so they've aimed to recycle between 80 to 90% of all the materials, not only through the civil construction phase but also through the house phase. And so one of the other special features at the development is that there's a relationship between the developer and the builders, and a limited number of builders, so that everyone that buys the house and land package there has to build through these particular builders, and it means that the developer can control that process and has more, when they say it's a smart waste zone, they can actually enforce that, whereas a lot of other developments that just sell the land and then anyone comes along and builds it, there's no way of really enforcing these commitments that they've made. A big one, which I haven't mentioned anymore, and is the big one that Sandra actually says first, is the solar powered and the energy efficiency of the development. So every single house has 6.6 kilowatts of solar panels included within it. They eliminated gas from the estate completely, so that everyone has to use electricity and the solar powered, sourced from solar power. What is the number of kilowatts it is in total? Is it 1.4
megawatts, is that right?
4 megawatts?
It might actually be more than that. I think that was based on 3 kilo. So yeah. I think it's actually nearly over 10.
Over 10, yeah. It's one of the largest developments across Australia that has a system like this, that every single one has signed up for solar power. And because it's given as part of the house package, people are going to be doing that, and because it's a limited number of builders, then Sandra can make that happen as well. And then, so there was a lot of effort into maintaining the mature trees at the site. A lot of people here will be from Perth, and we're used to seeing the outer suburbs come along, clear it, it's all flat, bye-bye trees, stick all the houses in. So in this instance, it didn't look like a really hilly site, but what we've done is we've really tried to keep all of the hills. So there's retaining walls throughout, and as many mature trees that we could keep, we did. I always say this, that I remember we had one design meeting where we were all sitting around just to save one tree. It was ridiculous. It took us hours to try and work out this thing just to save this one particular tree, because every single one was really important, and we wanted to actually make it a different development. And we've also delivered 24% green space, whereas you only have to do 10.
Kristy.
Sorry, I'm nearly done. So I've mentioned some of those. So it's the first development in WA to be delivered by a limited number of builders, to deliver every home with noise attenuation features and be individually tested. And as I said, those noise attenuation features also mean they have impacts on energy efficiency. And the first one across to have such a large amount of sustainability features on a normal home product. Not some eco lodge in the middle of nowhere. Like these are normal homes that people are coming and buying. And it's the first private development as well to be fully accredited with all 6 leaves. So that was a massive achievement, because mostly it's government-funded projects who, you know, they're doing it for a different reason. So Sandra has actually, off her own back, gone down this road. So it's even bigger achievement. And it's not just about the environment. It's a really good-looking place. You drive along West Parade, big trees, nice stream. All these things that have environmental aspects actually make it look and feel good. Like it's what we visually think is a nice place. It's higher sales than, like it's a bad time for selling houses. It's not a good time, but compared to competing developments, they're doing really well. And also there's cost savings for residents as well. So environmental excellence can be a selling point. Early planning and looking for opportunities and sticking to them is how you can make this happen. Community engagement is really important, and it has been really hard to get this through on time. It is at times, and it's really funny because we're winning all these awards now, but we've been in meetings with different authorities arguing about certain things. So I think sometimes it's hard to get innovative stuff through. So if we can be a bit more accepting of innovation, everyone will benefit. Thank you very much.